Welcome to Pseudoscience 101, the only channel where someone with lead FI in the 497 tri-type or wannabe menace to society mocks a personality system because they do not know how to properly communicate their hyperfixation. Each type in the Enneagram is made up of two main triad groups, the centers of intelligence, which I personally call the centers of insecurity, and the Object-Relations Triad, which I personally call the coolest fucking triad ever! However, even though the Object-Relations Triad is objectively better than the centers of insecurity because I said so, it's entirely dependent on them because the centers of insecurity dictate what you deal with, while the Object-Relations Triad dictates how you deal with them. Since the Enneagram is autistically obsessed with sets of three, there are three main parts of each center of insecurity which are important for the Object-Relations Triad: the problem, the goal, and the vulnerability. Going in the order anger, shame, fear, the problems are conflict, your bad parts, and the unknown. The goals are autonomy, love, and security, and the vulnerabilities are feeling weak, feeling hated, and feeling lost. To explain the Object-Relations Triad, imagine you're on a stroll outside, because you sure as hell aren't going to actually have one, when suddenly there's a wall in front of you blocking your path. This wall is your problems, and the end of the path is your goal. Rejection breaks the wall, attachment walks around the wall, and frustration climbs it. That's a really solid analogy when describing the methods the types use, but it doesn't really describe the meat of a type, such as why a 4 chooses to use their bad parts to gain love instead of getting rid of them entirely or diverting attention to their good parts. In my first Enneagram video, I only focused on the problem and goal, but the names didn't really make sense with the methods. As an example, why is it called attachment if it's all about avoiding? So, my definition of attachment changed into grabbing onto random shit to avoid your problem, which is kind of fucking trash! Let's say there's a 9 who never does anything ever and is happy with that. If the weird kid waltzes up to them and asks highly personal questions, are they gonna punch them in the face or get the teacher to beat the weird kid's ass? No, that will get them in a thing with the weird kid's goons and school policy. But are they gonna expose their secrets? Fuck no! Because even though it's the path of least resistance, it's what the weird kid wants, and he's gonna ask even more personal questions. So this 9 is not gonna do shit. So, they're refusing to engage with anything which could lead to conflict. Obvious attachment under the wall analogy. However, they're not grabbing on to shit. Except, they are grabbing on to their fear of conflict. Their feelings that they are weak, that outside people, structures, or ideologies are capable of hurting or controlling them, and half of them will do so at any opportunity, and that is terrible. But every other 9 is grabbing onto that same feeling, and every 6 is grabbing onto the feeling they are lost, and every 3 is grabbing onto the feeling they are hated, and all of them hate it, and all of them think the only way out is avoiding the problems which cause it. So this is why vulnerabilities are important. They're the objects you relate to in the Object-Relations Triads. So, if attachment is about being controlled by those feelings, then what are rejection and frustration about? Rejection is all about being better than your vulnerabilities. Let's use 5 as an example. 5 is in the fear triad, so it has the vulnerability that it is lost. That there's so many fucking directions to go, and they don't know which ones will end in death. They can never find out what is safe, and that is terrible. Hey dumbass, why don't you read a fucking book? Wow, see how easy that was? You're no longer lost and confused, you fucking crayon shoe. I actually still really like the frustration definition I used in my original Enneagram video because it didn't bring in some random out-of-triad bullshit. It was just using the problem to gain the goal. Adding vulnerabilities, this is because frustration types idealize their problems. Speaking on 4 specifically, their vulnerability is that they are hated. That parts of them degrade the whole and make them intrinsically Wait, what? There's parts of me which cause me to be outcast and despised? Think of all the people who would love that aesthetic. I can count them on my fingers. Holy shit, I'm gonna make it my entire personality. Let's go back to the wall analogy with this new knowledge on vulnerabilities, specifically why the types choose their coping mechanisms. You'll probably imagine the wall as a long smooth stone brick because you're all sheep who think exactly what the whiteboard images want you to. However, the different triads in the Object-Relations Triads all see their problems in different ways. Starting with the boring approach of a featureless stone brick, this is how the attachment triad sees the wall. Using 3 as an example, it believes that its bad parts are imposing and uncrackable with 0 features. So, if a 3 is in conversation and the fuckwit they're talking to mentions, their crippling drug addiction, There's nothing good about the addiction won't budge, so the only logical choice from this perspective is mentioning how back in the 90s they were in a very famous TV show to move the conversation as far away from their drug addiction as possible, avoiding the problem to get the goal. Meanwhile, the rejection triad sees the wall as something more like an absurdly sized wooden fence. Using 8 as an example, it views breaking its fists on conflict as an inconvenience or necessary evil to get its goal. Saying 8 really likes their car, but it gets keyed by some jackass. Since there is no getting away from this shithead, and they keyed your fucking car, so like hell you're gonna work with them, the only way for the 8 to stop them for certain is getting a shitload of blisters to key the bitch's car back, going through the problem to get the goal. Finally, the frustration triad sees the wall a lot less uniform than the other types. It's stone slanted slightly, or it has spikes or cracks, and they're all in different places. Using 7 as example... Fuck, I'm running out of jerk protagonists. You know what, I don't know what to do for this. Could just talk about something I want. You might not know this about me, but I have another channel called I Write Bad Poems where I draw original poetry in a comic format thing. It's really cool. Bringing up one of my favorite poems I drew, Pronoun Boy, warning, this poem has... And boom! I was using the fact I had no idea where to go with this to pick a hyper-specific topic and forget my lack of direction. Using the problem to get the goal. To finish up this video, I just want to bullshit a little. These are just observations I made up, so they're probably not entirely accurate, but like marijuana, anecdotes could be useful in moderation. Everybody wants to be a rejection. Using 2 as an example, name one person who has never wished they were better in some way. Wishing they were less ugly or less stupid or less weird, because if they were less anything, they could be loved. The only difference between 2 and the other shame types is that it actually puts in the work to change itself into something socially better, which probably fucks them up a lot more than the flaws they thought they had to begin with. So to prevent this, I think the rest of us should make fun of 2s for being 2s, causing them to be one of the better types. We outnumber them anyways. Attachment is the default response to problems. Lots of shit is just plain and obvious bad, so most people just don't deal with it. Using the fear triad as an example, if a piano is about to fall on your head, every single person who notices is going to sticks. I don't want to get smashed by the piano, so I'm gonna listen to my fears and get the fuck out the death zone. The most 5-5 to ever 5 isn't going to try to deduce whether the piano is actually an illusion conjured by a mischievous wizard to ensure that moving isn't an overreaction, and the most 7-7 to ever 7 isn't going to take a selfie with the falling piano because they think they'll survive, so why not get a cool image in the process? Attachment isn't just the default response to really big problems, but really small ones too. If a fly is in your room and you're the kind of pussy who's scared of them, you're not gonna watch them for hours to know their pattern so you could perfectly execute them, and you're not gonna do hard drugs because the fly is buzzing slightly close to you. You're just gonna kill them because you're a terrible person. Finally, frustration is what everyone wishes would happen and simultaneously the hardest triad to understand. Using 1 as an example, wouldn't it be cool as fuck if God personally came down from the heavens and said, hey, I think you're really cool. Here's a fucking bajillion dollars, super cool powers, and a sick-ass sword. However, that's never going to fucking happen, so ones try to get the same effect by waltzing up to specific people, structures, or ideologies which are bigger than them and give their status, resources, influence, or tongue to them in hopes of gaining power. 8s and 9s are confused as fuck about this because that's the man keeping you down! However, as parts of the frustration triad, ones could see the uses in these people, structures, or ideologies who could beat them up and take their lunch money, but 8s and 9s who think conflict is all the same bullshit just can't. Same with the other frustration types, and while I have both of them as fixes and could logically translate my experiences with my bad parts and the unknown to conflict, I have a 9 fix and cannot emotionally understand why the fuck a 1 would go out their way to suck up to principles or principles, but I can emotionally understand 8s and 9s and how it feels to want to give up or punch a fucker in the face when dealing with conflict, but I cannot imagine getting someone else to do the face punching for me because I don't have a 1 fix, and barely anyone I know could comprehend the dumbassery I do because they don't have 4 or 7 fixes. Isn't the Enneagram just so fucking fascinating? Well, that was long, and it was also really fun for me. Again, this is my favorite triad in the entire Enneagram, so it deserves a full video on the half compared to the center of insecurity's half and the other triad's quarters. If you like the video, or just me, remember to like and or subscribe because it really inflates my ego, because I'm a small creator and it helps out a lot. Also, if you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments because answering them makes me feel smarter than everyone else. Anyways, I hope you laughed a little, and if you somehow laughed a lot, I'm gonna kill you because I am a terrible person.